I guess we're back, everybody. Welcome back to the Isaac Abrams Show. I'm your host, Isaac Abrams. Today's very special guest, comedian, musician, writer, according to Forbes, he's an entrepreneur, photographer, and philanthropist, Mr. Mike Falzone. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Can I be honest with you right off the bat?
Yes.
I don't know what a philanthropist means or does.
I call everybody a philanthropist. It's someone with excessive money, like Bill Gates set up a philanthropy organization to just give his money away.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm that for sure.
Yeah. Because it's mostly comics that come on the show. So it's like, oh, this guy's got so much money. He must be just giving it away.
Yeah.
And my mascot there, I call him Phil.
Phil.
Because I call everybody a philanthropist.
Phil the Anthropist.
That's Phil the Anthropist.
I like him very much. He's very chill.
Yeah, he's got a private island that he's sitting on.
Dude, there's nothing that makes a cartoon character chiller than putting the eyelids halfway down.
Oh,
That's the move.
Yeah, the original artwork that the artist sent over, he had a lollipop in his mouth instead of a gold tooth.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we have that as an alt one
Dude,
day.
having both.
Side by side. Yeah, back to back on the palm tree. That'd be cool.
Yeah. This is a very cool place. You got a bunch of cool stuff in here.
Thank you.
I instantly feel comfortable. There's nostalgic things. You have original Game Boy behind my head.
Yeah, we have one of the hottest records of all time right behind you.
Yeah, one of the hottest records because I left it outside of the valley. That's what made it super hot.
That was a
one
great
of the
story.
Most warped records in the valley.
What was? Yeah. How long did it sit in the sun? Does it play?
Oh, I don't know.
Very cool. I went at 9 o'clock at night, and it was one of the last ones left.
Nice. Oh, that's great that everybody scooped one.
Do you want to tell everybody the story about the vinyl?
So, the vinyl behind me is called Zebediah Zebra Pants, and it is kind of like a compilation live record that I recorded. It's like 9.5 years ago by this point when I first moved to LA. And when I moved here, I was just getting into stand-up because there were very few places to do it where I grew up in Connecticut, in southern Connecticut, which is very different now, by the way, which is fun to see when I go back. Yeah. But there just wasn't many places to do it, so I was kind of just like learning stand-up, but I had been a musician for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of at that crossover point in my career where I was going from one to the other. So I had written some funny comedy songs, and that record was literally like this is going to be one of my last one of these, and then I'm going to go into stand-up. So that record is all live on a tour that I did as soon as I got out of here, where I went pretty much up and down the West Coast for the first time in my life. I like traveled up the PCH and saw a bunch of things I'd never seen before. Yeah. And recorded the best bits from every show, whether it be like, little crowd work things here and there, or just regular like singer-songwriter songs. Sure. Or there's some like joke songs in there. So that record is literally my I'm done with this and now I'm gonna try this. And it sounds very much like that. Like the songs are pretty good and the stand-up is like, okay, you just started trying to do that.
So you're lighting the bridge as you're crossing it. You're like, I'm burning this down. Yeah. Never a thought to do like the musical comedy kind of thing full time, or you wanted to do straight stand-up?
I had a bunch of people tell me to do that as soon as I told them that I was getting into stand-up. They're like, oh, well, that's perfect because you already do music. Just write funny songs. Mm-hmm. And I tried and I did a couple, but even looking back, like they're very stereotypical. They're very like, there's a turn and the turn is like shocking. Yeah. And it's all like, I might be gay. Don't tell my dad I'm gay or whatever. And it's very, what I learned to be very over the plate, very like easy jokes, like jokes about like sex and pooping your pants. And,
the stuff we all write about when we're first starting out in comedy, right? Farts are funny, right? Puns are fun.
Right. And then, as I get older, I try to lean into I think we all do as we get older as comedians, we try to lean into the things that make us more unique instead of just like piling on to the stuff that everybody else does. And there's so many people who do a great job with the musical comedy thing. Yeah. And it's not that I think I can't do it, but I don't think I have figured out a way to do it different enough from everybody else in a way that would help me stand out. So
Okay.
I would much rather keep on doing what I'm doing than to do that. I miss playing music a lot sometimes,
Dude,
and
I
that
do
took
too.
a few years to happen.
Yeah.
Like when I was done with it, I was like, I'm done.
Did you have a full band or just singer-songwriter by
For a
yourself?
little while, we put out an EP. It's called Mike Falzone and the Peppermint Trick.
That's
with
awesome.
It was really great, man. It was produced by this guy Nick Belmore, and it was just me and 2 or 3 of my friends, depending on when you caught us. And
Yeah.
it was such a fun time, just like being loud with the boys.
Yeah.
And we were all from Southern Connecticut, and we would take the train or drive into New York City, and we had a couple residencies in New York City. And then, like most of the other bands, we get annoyed with each other and then don't do it anymore. We're like, to save
Yeah.
the friendship, we better stop playing music with each other.
Right.
And then everybody grew up and has beautiful families, and I'm still out here doing this.
Same.
Yeah.
We moved out here in 06. Whole band together moved into a 2-bedroom, like, 4 guys.
Yeah.
And, a couple years later, it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a couple opportunities. That's why we moved out here. But we all ended up getting jobs in the film business, and everybody just kind of went off on their separate ways. And
You still friends?
we're all best friends.
That's
Yeah.
great.
We're still great. Most of them have moved off to Nashville.
That seems to be the spot now.
Yeah. One of
Yeah.
them moved off to Florida and came back. He's a luthier now, so he makes custom guitars.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. My singer is the head of music videos across the street at Disney, but he got to move to Nashville during the pandy.
Nice.
And my drummer owns a advertising agency.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So happy for musicians who eventually find what's going to make them money.
Right. Also, so depressing for the guy, 50 years old, still wearing paint pants. That's like doesn't change clothes off the paint truck into the cover band gig.
Yeah.
He's like, this one's an original, dude.
Yeah,
And you're like,
where you guys going?
no.
Always trying to sneak one in, dude.
Yeah, go back to the Journey covers, man. You'll be fine.
Yeah. We had a couple great cover. I don't remember their names, of course, because I was always drunk. But during my early 20s, we used to go out in South Norwalk. And there were a bunch of cool bars over there, like Black Bear. And in like Norwalk, Stanford, they all had like sponsored cover bands. It's like the whole cover band would be given money by like Mountain Dew or something.
Yeah.
And they were so good. And they would just play the hits and like, older, like 45, 50-year-old guys.
Leather
still
pants.
in leather pants with the, like the sweatbands.
So it was
on the
with the watch over it. Yeah. And the pink studded belt. I know this
Yeah.
because my first job out of high school was tour managing a band called Superstar. And we did the hits of the 80s.
Yeah.
We toured all up and down the East Coast in a van with a trailer.
Cool.
I met the singer of the band because I worked at the rental car company that he rented the van and the trailer from.
Yeah.
And he would always come in on Wednesday, and I was like, where do you go every week? And he's like, oh, we're in a band, man. We go on tour. I was like, can I go? And he's like, sure, kid. Quit the job. Started tour managing them for like $100 a day.
They had you stay in the trailer.
I stayed. Well, yeah, I think we would just get we played a lot of frats and weddings.
Cool.
And it paid pretty good, but the singer kept all the money.
Why?
He owned the rights to the name. He was a businessman. He has actually a musician's management company.
Sure.
So he was all about business. He played bass in the band, rented all the gear, bought the PA. So he's like, oh, the expenses, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the singer was typical broke singer, and I think he's getting $200 a show. Meanwhile, he's like, go get the check from the guy. And it's like $4,000. I'm like, you guys should be cutting this up a little better.
Yeah.
And then I told everybody else how much the band was making, and then they all broke up, and there's no more cover bands.
Yeah,
so.
that'll do it. Dude,
Yeah.
we never made money like that, but as the leader of the band, I could definitely attest to that sounds shitty off the rip.
Yeah.
If you're saying the leader of the band kept all the money, but then I'm going back to my leader of the band days, and I'm like, I'm the one who paid for recording.
Yep.
I'm the only one who lifted a finger to book anything, which
Yeah.
is the most stressful shit.
It's my
I
credit
drove
card.
everywhere. It's my credit card.
I'm the only one with a credit card.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
want to rent something, I got to do it because I'm the financially responsible one.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
there was always going back and being like, I will gladly give you guys more money. And I would not everyone is the task person.
Sure.
The delegating the task people person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be like, everyone books one show a month. and then we automatically have 4 shows.
Yeah.
And then I'll do everything on top of that. And no one ever booked anything. I'm like, this is your chance to like feel more invested in this. And like, you can't talk shit when I'm like, the bass needs to be lower in this song if I'm literally doing everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's my name.
Right.
You kind of get to be the executor of that estate.
Right. We could just be the regular peppermint trick from here on out, and you guys could, we'll split it all and we'll have 1 show a year.
Yeah. Dude, being in a band is crazy. It's like being married to 3 other people.
It's too much, especially the older that you get.
Yeah.
Even the way that life works out naturally anyway, it's like the older you get, you could just stand less people and you have less patience. And then if you have a business partner, hopefully you're joined up with someone who has, at the very least, a similar work ethic to yours.
Yeah.
But when you're young and in your 20s, everyone just wants to like meet girls and make noise and fucking like be the center of attention. And that's great. And then at a certain point, you're like, well, I have a girl now and I have this job that pays me a lot better than this fucking band. and I want to have a family. And everyone's, you know, you reshuffle your what you want out of life. And then it very rarely matches up with 4 other dudes at the same time. Yeah,
we had some buddies that got signed and got a deal when we were about to hopefully get signed and get a deal. Yeah. And we watched them, like they would come through, we'd get to hang out on their bus. We watched them rise and fall. And we always, it was about 2 years, 2.5 years, they had a hit. And the one in the band that wrote it got all the money. And it was like, okay. But you know, they'd still split live show money equally. So the other guys were making a couple bucks, but not enough to like move to Paris for the rest of your life. So we always say the best thing that ever happened to us was not getting that record deal, because we would have always thought, oh, there's another deal coming, or we would have been trying to tour that one hit for the rest of our lives. And we wouldn't have learned the work ethic that we had to go get like life-sustaining jobs out in the film business.
Would I know it if you said either of these bands and either of the songs?
Possibly, but I can bleep it. They're from Nashville. They were a manufacturing band by the guys who put together like they're out in Thousand Oaks. There's these management dudes. They just put together a bunch of boy bands.
Dude, I when I was in my like early 20s, I started seeing that happen. I was friends with a few producers, and I saw them try to manufacture bands, and everyone had so much talent, and either it worked or it didn't. And they're like, we'll give you this amount of money until our money to dump into it dries up. And then that's it. We'll just see what happens for this year or 2 years or whatever. But that whole thing is fascinating, man.
It is. And the accounting on that shit, the recoupables, is like, oh, where do you get your calculator from? Because it's like the way that they calculate it's like if you paid them back tenfold, they'd still be like, I think you're still short. I heard about. So do you know Anthony Davis?
That sounds very familiar.
He's a comedian, big fella, red beard.
Yes, I do.
I don't know if I should put this on the streets, but he was telling me about his album, his comedy album. They charged him $8,000 for it.
Who's they?
The company that produced it. And I was like, dude, I could get a small mini hand recorder and go with you to 5 shows, and I could make your next audio only
$0.
Yeah.
I had a lapel mic the whole time, and there are better ways to do it for sure. Like plugging it into the board, like making friends with the sound guy. But like compilation album, it was just like I had a lapel mic everywhere I went for like 10 dates. And I was like, let me choose the best stuff out of this, and it doesn't all sound perfect at all. It sounds very much like a label thing, but $8,000, unless they're gonna like press it and distribute it for you.
All digital, no advertising. So, and he's recouping on his Spotify streams, which is like 0.0000.
How long does that take?
I think he's got to get like 8 to 10 million views before he starts making any money.
Dude, I would rather actually make the thing. I actually have an album out right now that's another compilation thing, and I paid my buddy what he asked me to pay him, one guy. And it wasn't anywhere close to that.
No.
And I would, if I had $8,000, I would much rather put all of that, knowing what I know now, into the advertising and 100%. Any kind of like public relations, A&R, anything like that. Getting it out there and making people outside of my immediate circle aware of it.
Sure.
You know, like I could tweet it out, and it'll get to like the 25% of the people who would follow me
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the podcasts, you talk about it for months, but that's still like your circle of people. If I can give $8,000 to someone who's like, I'll tell a broader net of people about it, like that's what I would want to.
And you can, if you spend it right on sponsored Instagram ads and like the right YouTube, Google advertisements, you don't need an agency.
Yeah.
There's people that take. I found this one place that was like, we'll guarantee you 1,000 views for like $10 or something. So I went into like the Google AdSense and I figured out that for that $10 or whatever they were charging, I could get 10 times the views if I would just put the money directly in Google or YouTube.
Yeah.
Instead of giving it to them.
Yeah.
They were giving me 10% of what. So they're just making a rip. They just know how to do Google AdSense.
And then they're charging you for the service.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. And
business.
people, it's set. It is that, and everyone should know better. And you go through some shit, and then you know better. But, I wish. I don't know. I can't fully form this thought, but I hate to make it sound so juvenile, like a us and them thing, and the suits and the not suits.
Right.
But they see people with like these stars in their eyes that don't really know how it works.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, give me this. And then those people pay for a number under a video. And then they're kind of like, that fulfills their dopamine, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to see like 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever that you paid for. But like, how much of it is real? How much did you really have to pay for it?
Yep.
How much of the money could have gone elsewhere to like help people stick to you and help you sell tickets when you go out in the road?
And that's the whole thing. So if I wanted to go and blow up my YouTube channel right now, I could do it very inexpensively because a penny is worth a lot less overseas in some countries than it is worth here. So if you're paying a penny to 5 cents per view on YouTube for the United States market where someone might actually become a fan, you can take that 5 cents to the Philippines and get yourself 2,500 to 3,500 views. But they don't necessarily speak English or are interested in your content.
Exactly, yeah.
So like, are you wasting your money, or are you fulfilled that you have a higher number on your YouTube channel?
Dude, I know some people. Some guy just asked me to do a run of shows, like in the Arizona area and Texas. And he's like, dude, we rent these theaters and we get all these people out. And I'm like, how do you do? I'd be so interested in hearing how you do that. And he's just like I've gotten really good at like super targeted ads. And, you could throw all this money at this broad whatever. But if you get it targeted, then you get real people showing up and you get real like-minded. That's why like everyone's so scared of all the data stuff, and I'm sure there's good reason to be scared of everyone having your data and you signing all these like terms and services. I'm sure there's so many good reasons to be scared, but also it's like they collect data in such a way where you're like, I'll pay you to show people who are like this my stuff,
right?
And that's almost just as good as being like if you like my podcast and you have friends that are like you, will you tell your friends about my podcast? It's
digital word of mouth.
Yeah.
And it's digital gold. I was actually just talking to a comedian that's pulling 600 to 800 over the course of a weekend. So 2 shows, a Thursday show, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and a Sunday show.
So in total, 6
to 800, right? So maybe 100, 120 per show.
That's great.
That is great. But the deal with the club doesn't touch what they would do if they did one night in the theater and put 75% of those seats on one night.
Sure.
So like if they rented a 500 seat theater and sold it out at $20, that's 10 grand. It's way more than the club was giving this comic for a whole weekend.
Because then you get a bonus if you sell at the theater, like all that stuff.
Well, you rent the theater for the night, right? So you get the theater for whatever you paid. You're the club.
Oh, sure.
And so if the club's $1,000 for the night, you got to pay the staff. You're still doing way better than spending 5 days at the Mall of America.
Yeah.
Which I just did the Mall of America with this.
How was it?
They just had a shooting.
Whoa, no.
They had a mass shooting. This is going to come out many, many weeks from now.
Yeah.
So let's say 5 weeks ago, but it was really like 3 days ago.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, that mall it's no better or worse than any other mall. It just has an amusement park.
Gigantic.
Yeah. Have you played that club?
No. What club was it?
House of Comedy.
But the shooting wasn't at the club.
No,
Right?
the
It was
club's
just at the
so
mall.
far up that no one. I mean, it's on the 4th floor.
Yeah.
And it's open till midnight, and the mall closes at 7 or 8.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, these shooting things are getting out of control, but
Yeah.
I don't think people tune in to hear more about
No,
shooting
sorry.
stuff. I'm sorry, I even brought it up. Might even cut it out. This is what I'm super fascinated about, and I'm going to try and dive into this and see. You were a very early YouTuber,
Yeah.
like
2006.
That's
in
OG.
January 2006.
Yeah, there were probably less than 10,000 people like providing
Oh, yeah.
content.
Yeah, for sure. It was literally for like you upload a video to the internet to be able to like easily share it with a friend,
Yeah.
or your family or whatever.
And then that's what got you the write up in Forbes. Being an early adopter.
It was a few years later. Basically what happened is, when I started, I didn't know how to use it, and then I was a musician, so I used it strictly for that for a long time. And then when I was 25, 26, I had a pretty bad health scare where I was doing YouTube stuff, and then I had to take a break to go into the hospital, and I almost didn't come out of the hospital. So that gave me this kind of new lease on life, and it kind of changed the content that I made, where I was kind of experimenting with like talking to the camera, doing more like vlog type things, but it wasn't like a day in a life type stuff. It was like, I'll write a subject that I think I could write 10 things about, like what to do at a concert or whatever. It was like life advice, but it was very like tongue in cheek. And then when I almost didn't come out of the hospital, I had this like very adult moment of like, time is the most important thing we have. I think it would be a very valuable thing if I can say something in a comedic way that would also help save somebody else a lot of time. Like I obviously had some perspective on my teens when I was in my mid-20s.
Sure.
So it was kind of me talking to teens, a lot of stuff about like relationships and breakups. And it's like, I went through so much dumb shit. If I could say this in a humorous way and have you enjoy that, but also have you like, watch out for these red flags along the way, I thought that was a pretty valuable thing. So that kind of stuff is kind of what brought me out here. I had a manager at the time, Sarah Penna, Sarah Evershed at the time, who has blown up. She's an incredibly good business person. And she hooked me up with the Forbes interview, and that was just a really cool thing that we did in her office.
Cool.
The person who wrote that interview later had me speak at was it UC Irvine or some college?
Is this whole thing pre-comedy, or is this
It's
like the
kind of
early funny stuff?
It's it was me trying to be funny in a room to my camera. And then once I learned how much different and more difficult stand-up comedy was, that kind of took place. I kind of started learning how to do it the right way right before I moved here. Like I took a class.
Oh, cool.
To just like learn how to write jokes, because I was always like suspension of disbelief. I just thought people went up there and said stuff.
Me too.
It was like watching wrestling. I was like, oh, these guys are,
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw a comic twice.
broke your heart.
I was like, this bitch. I've heard that one before, and I was so indignant. I walked out of there and I was like, this motherfucker, she just does those same jokes every time.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it was funnier. And then I'd seen her again in Vegas a number of years later, and I was like, huh, new jokes.
Yeah. It took a while. But,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how it happens. And that's why I know we're jumping forward 9 years at this point, but that's why I'm so in love with the crowd work stuff.
Yeah.
And then going back to like, doing musical comedy and stuff like that. It's like the crowd work stuff, which, music and being a singer-songwriter with just an acoustic guitar, it taught me how to do all that crowd work stuff, because I would be, in the corner of a bar or a deli for 3 hours on end, and you have to keep everybody like entertained.
Yeah.
And you have to like draw people in. So I would just talk to people, and it's still to this day, it's my favorite thing. And I write jokes because I have to, and it's an art form, and I respect it, and I love it so much. I think it's a beautiful thing. Taking apart and putting together the puzzle that makes a really good joke and a routine and an hour and all that stuff. I think it's beautiful. But the crowd work stuff is like, this is happening tonight with us, and we're making it together. And it's like, you bought a ticket for an experience that's going to happen tonight.
That's
only.
it. And it's lightning in a bottle, and it only happens one time. I agree so much. If I could only do crowd work and never write another fucking joke in my whole life. Well, yeah, but then no one will see you. You're going to do crowd work to yourself. We should shout your show out. You have a show at the Improv called Surrounded Crowd Work. Yeah. And you do that in the middle of the room at the lab.
Yep.
And it's 360.
Yeah.
What was the idea for doing it in the round?
I was doing this crowd work show called the Friends and Friends Show for a long time, and we did it on Fairfax in the back of this coffee shop. There was a black box theater. It's not there anymore. I think it was a pandemic casualty. But it was awesome. It was so much fun. I loved watching my friends be like, what do you do if you get stuck, and kind of be nervous, and then go up there and just have a great time or get ideas for jokes that they would do later on. And then I started becoming more of a regular at the Improv, so I started being around there more. And one day, I think Rami Youssef was doing a show in the round or practicing for his hour or whatever in the lab. And so I saw the lab set up like that for the first time. And it's like, the lab is just always what it is. Yeah. And people have a love-hate relationship with
bars in a weird spot, man.
Dude, there's so many people throughout the past 9 years have been like, the lab is where jokes go to die, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And there have been crazy rough shows in there, and if no one's laughing, no one's laughing. But if people are laughing, it means you earned it. I love it in there so much. So I already love the room, and then I saw it set up like that for the first time, and I was like, dude, the crowd work show should be in the round, and it should be in the center of the room, because it's a show that you make with the crowd. So if you're in the crowd, if you're like part of it, and there's nowhere to go, it's like fighting your way out almost. And I just love it so much. I was like, these things work together perfectly. So I asked them if we could set up the chairs like that. They said, would you want to do 2 shows instead of 1? Because they can't flip the room that easy. Yeah. Because it's like rearranging the whole room.
And who, as a comic, wouldn't be like, oh, no, just the one's fine.
Yeah. So now I got to work harder to sell out 2 shows. Yeah. And then... like all month, it's like promoting for that show and putting whoever on. I really don't tell people about who's on the show until a couple days beforehand.
Oh, so you're not leaning on name weight?
Not really.
You're building the show as a brand.
I always thought that if the show did well enough and people were excited to just come see the show no matter what, it wouldn't matter who I had on.
That's so smart.
Have to have a headliner on at all times. There was a kind of a stretch where I was getting headliners on, and headliners are super comfortable, and that's great because they've earned that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of them want to like play around. Right. And also like let go of the safety net and maybe like eat dicks in the Surrounded show or in this crowd work show. So, I had to figure out who was down with it and who wasn't, who would fucking, as a defense mechanism, just like badmouth the show on stage because it wasn't going real well.
Oh, that's always a hot tip when it's like, wow, you guys fucking suck. Like when the comic starts blaming the crowd, it's like, that's really going to win them over. Yeah. They're going to change their minds about you now. Yeah. Yeah. That's so gross. Have you ever had a headliner or any other comic just bail on the crowd work and just start doing bits?
Yes. Killer. All the time. Well, not all the time. Usually the people who are less familiar. Yeah. If it's my friend, I'll get on the mic in the sound booth and I'll be like, that's a bit, stop it. I wanted to get an air horn for a long time. So because I know all my friends' material. Yeah. So I wanted to like blow the air horn when anybody
like would start red lights start going on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to say any names, but there were headliners who came in recently who were less familiar with the show, who started doing material, but at that point it was just like a drop-in thing. So it's like how how much of a dick could I be
Sure.
if somebody drops in? Like, thank you for dropping in, but also...
Right. Everybody's like, wow, that person's here in real life. And okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the people who come to the show, they can tell.
Yeah.
You know, they can tell a bit from whether or not somebody's sourcing it from them.
How much time does each comic get at the show?
We're trying to find the sweet spot, but normally it's 10. The average is about 10.
Yeah. You can get something going in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
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 And if you're dying, 15 is going to be too long.
Yeah, we did 12 for a long time.
That's pretty good.
And with some people, it felt like a little bit too long, and with some people, it felt like not long enough.
Of course, yeah.
But you just don't want to tire them out, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like 5 or 6 people on each show. Everyone does 10 to 12, and that's kind of like the sweet spot. Seems like.
Have you had like on the road or even in LA? Do you have a craziest go-to crowd work story where you're like, hey, what's up? Where are you from? And the people are just like dump something on you that you just didn't see coming.
I'm sure I do. I just have the shittiest memory, dude.
Same.
And I wish, like, I have everything recorded. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody will make a cool documentary when I die. But more recent things, I had a dude kind of admit to, I think he was like posturing a little bit. You know how younger guys are always like, I drink this much, and blah, blah, blah. But I had a dude like kind of admit to drunk driving, like on the way to the show.
to the venue.
And I was like, dude, like, cut this guy off. People, you know, it's a real subconscious thing. So the comics and the crowd, you can get them to say crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the comfortability thing, you know?
Yeah. Some people are just completely fine sharing their whole shit.
Yeah.
And some people are
And
like,
they'll go, too.
Don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. And getting those people to share stuff is my favorite.
Yeah, that's the best.
Because it's not like pulling, when you get an overshare, like LA is like the city of overshares.
Oh, yeah.
There's not too many coy people in LA, right?
Pick me.
You know? Yeah. So it's, those people could go forever, but getting something special out of someone who like came there a little bit more nervous or reserved that's the gold.
There was my friend Nick recently got married. He took when he was on his honeymoon in Vegas, he went to a magic show, a mentalist. And his wife is like, do not pick me, right? Yeah. So he's asking around. He ends up pulling Nick's wife up on stage and like guessing her birthday or something. But like, I guess that's one of the tricks for mentalists is going, I have to find somebody who absolutely has a death fear of being up here.
Right. Because
they twitch differently and they can read numbers in their eyes or something.
Interesting.
I don't think this is one of those secrets of the magicians revealed by any means, like spoiler alert, but I'm not telling this story very well either. But there's something to be said to your point of like, getting something out of somebody who's like, I'm from Connecticut,
right?
You know, and just getting to like,
that's what you want. You want it to be authentic. You don't want somebody to come up and like do their prepared like monologue.
I was that kid. My sister was in improv, and I took drama in high school, and I really loved the improv portion of that.
Yeah,
but I tried out for like the extracurricular after school improv team, and I didn't get it.
Yeah,
and all my less funny friends did. So I would go to my sister's improv shows. She was in like she's much older than me. She was in college. She did improv. So I would go with pre-planned like cities, places, sports, and I would sit.
Poop Town. You got anything for Poop Town?
Yeah, Zimbabwe.
You guys are in a van in Poopiesville,
and the van is brown.
They must have loved that.
Oh, I sat right in the front row too.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Does
bad.
Does anyone on this side of the room have a suggestion?
Anyone?
That's great, dude. I also tried out for an improv team in college and didn't get it because I tried really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I thought that meant that I was not funny, and I was not funny at the time.
Right.
So good on them.
Yeah. There's always one super cool dude in every improv troupe. It just seems like he's just whipping this shit out off the top of his head.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's no problem, man. I just make improv. It's cool, you know?
Just
like,
confidence. That's really all it is.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found that out too late.
Yeah, not too bad.
Actually, I don't think I'm too old to start improv again. But
you're not, dude. You look like every improv person I
know. You're very average, and you look like everyone I've ever seen. You're completely undistinguishable from every other human.
No, that's not what I meant.
Let me dive back to the YouTube thing real quick.
Sure.
What I was getting at is the 06 platform and what it is today with the Creator Studio and all that analytics and all that shit.
Yeah.
Did you just start like slapping shit up, or was there SEO to worry about, tags, descriptions? Was there like the tricks of the trade back then, or was it just like...
No. All that stuff came once the partner program started. It's like it was started by two guys, and it was like a small, everyone knew each other. We had these like YouTube gatherings on these on specific dates, like 5, 6, 7. We would go to New York.
Wow.
Or 7, 8, 9. We would go to... A lot of it was in New York.
Would YouTube put you up?
No. They like weren't involved at all.
Oh,
these are like all just people who did it.
It's a group of friends that all are fascinated with YouTube.
I remember taking the train from Connecticut to Manhattan with an old YouTuber called Michael Buckley, and he used to have this show called What the Buck. And I remember he put one of my songs on his. He had like a almost like an E! News Entertainment type channel, and he put one of my songs as the intro once, and that was the first like leg up that I had. Then I got like 300 subscribers from this dude being like, "Yeah, this guy is on YouTube. He's a great musician." So that's how it was back in the day, and everybody like lifted each other up because there were like 70 of us,
That's it.
And then I don't remember which year the partner program started, but that's when they started like putting ads on videos. And then, people figured out how to game the system, and then not even game the system, but what you have to do to make your stuff easily discoverable.
Right. With that, to get the algorithm to pick it up. Yeah.
And even the algorithm, if there was one back in the day.
It might not have been an algorithm back then.
Dude, I remember the front page of YouTube was just like the most interesting stuff. And no matter... Because it was such a novelty back then for the first couple of years, it's like any average person would just click through the front page. And like, here's a singer doing a great cover. Here is like a fucking crazy video of a giraffe. Here is, and it was just like super interesting. And it's
enough variety to keep people interested and locked in.
There was variety. It was handpicked. It was curated by people.
Oh, really? It wasn't just like the most played shit of the day.
And then like as the partner program started, it started being like specific types of videos. And then once they sold it to like Google and stuff like that, that's when like, it was all like Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen on the front page. And that's when people started to, it's kind of like TikTok is now, where it's like, oh, anybody could do this. And it was kind of like second TV type stuff. Yeah. And I remember a lot of people got discouraged when, like the late night host would put all their clips on YouTube, because we were like, you have TV already. Yeah. And we're trying to like get an audience, and this is our place, and you're coming into our place.
Get out of our tree fort.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But in reality, it's like the tree fort got built out into a house, into a town, into a city, into a country, into a continent. Yeah. So then it just became like it is now. It's just too big to govern now. Yeah. And they tried for a long time to keep everyone happy. And I remember like going in there to YouTube and then picking my brain about certain types of stuff and what I liked and what I didn't. And they would listen, but I don't know if they'd hear it,
That's interesting. So they would like take your input on how you think the platform's
and they listened to a bunch of people. They would always make us feel like they were listening, but we can get real nitpicky. But it just got too big, and it's like everything else. It just isn't what it was. Right. And you could either pine after what it was or find your place in what it is now. Yeah. So that's what everybody tries to do now.
Have you ever thought that maybe something you said in one of those meetings is like vastly changed the trajectory of how YouTube turned out? Like, what if you're the reason the algorithm was created?
Not me specifically, because I would say shit like, I've been here for like 13 years or whatever it was at the time, and my stuff is buried because the robot doesn't know where to put it.
Okay.
And none of that gets changed. It's like I started my thing as like a really aimless musician.
Yeah.
And so once I figured it out, like the SEO and the titles and all that, then I started like covering songs. And, like we said with the cover band, like no one gives a shit about the original song.
Yeah.
But if I cover Adele in a unique way, like 30,000 people will like it. Mm-hmm. And so as I went from that to the advice stuff to stand-up comedy, it's like I kind of changed genres like 3 times.
Yeah.
So the robot doesn't know who to send my shit to.
That's confusing.
And so the advice is, from the top, the advice is start a new channel that's just Mike Falzone Comedy and put just your comedy stuff on there. I'm stubborn because I've already been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm Italian. I'm from the Northeast. Yeah. I'm big on like loyalty.
Yeah.
So I always thought that being loyal the whole time, like I've put stuff on there for 17. It hasn't always been the same. It's not always going to appease everyone since the audience either found me on a drastically different thing or expecting different things. But I took a lot of pride in like, I've been here under this name doing this for 17 years. That's got to pay off at some point.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, it may not have paid off on the actual official website because views get lower and lower and the robot gets more confused and he doesn't know where to put the stuff. But the people I meet at my shows or come out to see me on tour who said they've been following me for like 13, 14 years, ever since like they were in high school or whatever. Yeah. Those people that's more valuable than anything.
100%.
Like even when you blow up on TikTok, you have a clip and it gets 1 million views, you get all this influx of people. If you ever want to do anything else, it's like easy come, easy go. Yep. And that's fine. And that's the prerogative of all those people. And that's human nature. Mm-hmm. But to have a fan of you as a creative person who will be like, I love Isaac. He's doing a podcast today. That's awesome. I also followed his band. Also, if he feels like taking pictures tomorrow, I'll look at all of his pictures. Yeah. And I'm just into you because you're a creative person and I like the kind of shit that you make. Yeah. That person takes a lot longer to become a fan. Right. But they're with you forever.
They're ride or dies.
Yeah.
And they're much harder to market to and get to, but like, because they become a fan of you.
Right.
And the things that you do. And it is much tougher. I did start a separate channel for this show. Then I have all my directing shit on another channel.
Hey, super smart move.
Yeah. But after producing shows for other people, I've learned that they have their main channel that has the full-length episode, and they have their clips channel. Yeah. That makes 5 times what their normal channel makes.
Yeah.
Because people share 2-3 minute clips. They're not going to go, if you fucking email me an 1.5 hour long podcast and be like, check this out.
No way.
Not a chance.
30 seconds.
Like, hey, check this little bit out. I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
And so I've been saving my clips. I've been putting them on. I clip this show like 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I'm doing Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. But I'm saving the regular 16:9 format to launch my clips channel.
Smart.
I guess this is a hot announcement for all my fans. Check it out. Clips channel coming soon. Like fucking no one cares.
Yeah. Well, if you want to tell your friends about this, just know that they're not going to watch the 1.5 hour version.
Right.
So Clips channel coming soon.
Clips channel coming soon. But it's going to be all the shit that you see on the Reels.
Yeah.
And the YouTube Shorts.
That's good. You just got to be where people like to watch stuff.
Yeah. YouTube Shorts is doing really well for us.
Good.
Yeah. If I didn't know at first that I would just throw content up and be like, no views. Got it. I didn't realize you had to go back on your computer and like put the tags in.
That part suck?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a little robot that helps me with it now.
That's perfect.
SEO.
But just the fact that like, don't make it so easy to put up a reel or whatever you want to call it on your app. If you have to go on your computer and put the title and the description in.
And the thumbnail, which doesn't stick. You can go make a custom thumbnail, you can put it on there, and then the only person that sees it is you when you click on your channel.
It's stuff like that that bums me out because that's an absent thing. That's like substitute teacher shit.
Right.
That's
the people that work at YouTube not actually being YouTubers themselves.
But they don't care. Right. They haven't cared like that since 2010, maybe.
Yeah.
Nobody cares like that.
You're the Silver Lake of YouTubers.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a bummer.
I'm clipping that.
I'm just here with my floppy hat and my sporadic tattoos, pining for the old days. But, like everybody else, I tried to, like my stand-up clips do really well. And my goal is just that clips will help sell tickets to the real thing where I could be totally myself and do this brand of like crowd work and written comedy, which has made me happier than, anything I've ever done, any music I've ever played, even at its best, doing these shows and finally finding my voice after all this time and my style. It's made me, it's more of a reward than anything ever. So
do you ever think about once a year, like dropping one of those advice pieces again or doing a song?
I would love to do it. Now it's, songs every once in a while, but I don't think like that anymore. I used to when I was in high school and in college, I would just be like mostly hung up on a girl. And then I'd be like, what does that sound like? And then I'd write lyrics and then I'd write the music and then I'd play around with sounds and it was so much fun. And I miss it a lot, but I don't think in like songs anymore.
Yeah.
I'm always like
thinking in jokes.
I always want new material.
Yeah.
I'm always like, here is my point. This is the hardest part of written stand-up for me. I'm like, here's my point. Here's what I think. And the premise and whatever I say after that is fine most of the time. But then is the hard part. Then you have to like say, if I think that, then what does that mean?
If this, then if X, then Y.
Yeah. And that's the hard part. And that's the fun part to figure out. And it takes a long time. But it's it's fun to figure it out.
Yeah, my biggest challenge is I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's a storyteller, right? But I like to do like 4 5-minute long stories.
Yeah.
And I have to say the end a lot because I don't have like grand finales. It's just like, this is actually what happened and it's a crazy situation. So my challenge is like adding punchlines and like punching it up a little bit because it's like, you're never going to believe this. I met The Rock one time and then I go into that shit and it's like, it's a lot of like, and then like, what is there a punchline coming or
you need a
much like this story that I'm telling right now, it's just falling off a cliff.
I totally understand. When you're performing, I don't envy the long form storytellers because if somebody in the audience decides that they're not with it within like the first 2 or 3 minutes, like they're just not interested in the story, they have to wait till the end of the story for a new one to start. So it's a very admirable position.
Yeah.
Very brave to be a storyteller.
Well, I'll break off in the middle of a story if I see someone like, I'm like, oh, you're not into it? Like, what's up? Like, did you have a bad experience with The Rock? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, what do you have against The Rock?
Did you smell what he was cooking one time? Or like, what's going on? So
what, are you from Booptown?
Yeah. So, do you have a brown van? So sometimes I'll tell a bad story just to get people in a weird spot, just to go, oh, where's the weird energy in here? Like, is this couple fighting? Like, are these people having a good time no matter what?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's fun. I got to work on it. I have a little setup over here. I keep pointing. The people at home can't see it. Yeah. So I do my stand-up to that on camera, and then I go home and watch it. And then cut it up and like see what's good.
Nice. Is that helpful?
It is. I have a rough time hanging out at Mike's at midnight. It's just it's rough.
That's stand-up HR department.
Yeah.
That's like how you weed people out. And I've even seen, I'm sure you've seen that change over the past couple of years with all like the slotted mics. We could pay $5 to another comedian and like guarantee your spot at a mic. But like when I went to open mics in New York and when I moved here, it was like, you're there for 3 hours and you might not get up.
Wow.
And that's it.
Yeah. That's
and
a
now
commitment.
People just straight up don't want to. I think people value their time a lot more, especially after the pandemic. People are like, I was inside for 2 years. I don't want to stay inside and pretend to laugh at these other people's shit.
Yeah, wasn't it the Laugh Factory on Sundays? They would have people would bring their camping chairs.
Yeah,
and wait in line for like 4 hours.
Yeah,
for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just
To maybe get seen by the booker.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. That was the whole reason I started shooting comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wanted to get in. I wanted to cut the line. I just wanted to go, who's the manager?
Yeah.
Cool. I shoot pictures. May I shoot for free? Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
So then it was, I shoot everywhere but the store.
Yeah.
Leave the store alone. When I started, Troy had the store. Then it was Pamela for a little while and Liz. And now Van. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I leave it alone because one day I want to perform there.
Yeah.
But I shoot everywhere else. Mostly backyard shows and shit.
That's a place where it's like you can't skip the line. You can't skip a line in a place where they have like an established system.
Right.
And
people
really
watching
cool,
the line and bouncers making sure that line stays in place.
There are gatekeepers, and then there's like people slowing you down before you even get to the gate.
Whoa. Like hand on the chest.
Yeah.
We're a little dude heavy tonight, bro. Like,
But that's good. I think it's good.
Yeah.
The word gatekeeper gets a bad whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also things that you could do on your own that open the gate that aren't a skip the line thing.
Right.
And that's like, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of views skip the line because bookers think it equates immediately to ticket sales.
Right.
And a lot of times it doesn't. And sometimes it does, which is sometimes good enough to...
it's a percentage of a percentage kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to just shout out Trevor Wallace. That dude is
Absolutely
massive on the internet.
Yeah.
And he is doing 4 or 5 shows a night.
Yeah,
Nobody that I know of puts in more work to be a legit comic.
And that's
because
what
he
I'm
catches
saying.
that
Yeah.
internet shit all the time. He's like, oh, he's just an internet guy. You go watch Trevor Wallace do 15 minutes, he'll fucking knock your dick in the
Dude,
dirt.
I've taken him aside when he first started coming around, and I was like, for what it's worth, people are gonna, because people said that shit to me when I first got here, and they're like, oh, you're like, where'd you come from or whatever, and then they would see YouTube stuff and they'd be like, oh, you're a YouTube person. Now it's like people don't even know that I used to put stuff on YouTube or still put stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like as far as like a YouTube video, like the ones I used to do in Connecticut and stuff like that. And I told him, I'm like, people are gonna like say a lot of shit. None of what anyone says matters. Just always be getting better, and that's what he does. It's the only thing he's interested in, and
That's right.
and it shows, and he works very hard.
Yeah, and he's being very well rewarded for it right now,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
He's doing theaters. He's doing like 900 to 1,000
As he should.
theaters.
He's taking his friends along with him. He's
Yeah.
opening the door for them.
His podcast does really well.
Yeah, he was just on the last Surrounded show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to shoot that sometime. Or do
Yeah.
you shoot it yourself when you're not up?
I do, and I don't want to anymore. I love
Okay.
taking pictures so much, and I still have like lead singer syndrome where I tried to do everything, and it's too much.
Yeah.
And I can't enjoy it when I'm stressed out all the time.
Do you relight it for the surround for the
They
thing in the
do.
room?
They
Yeah.
turn lights and stuff like that.
Cool.
I don't know if they have ones since it's a reoccurring thing. It's normally
Yeah.
the first Friday of every month. I don't know if they have certain lights pointed at all times, but I
Yeah.
think they do. Like they point some lights specifically for
Yeah.
the show. Yeah.
Photography nerd alert. There's a bad flicker problem in the lab.
Yeah. You haven't figured out the code yet.
Oh, I have.
Good.
Yeah, I have to take it off silent shooting mode and take put anti-flicker on.
Yeah.
Well, I just switched platforms to Sony. I was doing Canon for a long time.
A7.
A7. I got an A7 III and 4.
Yeah, dude.
And man, that's what got me to switch from all black and white to color.
Dude, the color, just the detail you could pull out of the I have the A7. That's my low light camera.
Yeah.
And shooting a little underexposed and then going into Lightroom afterwards.
Yep.
And pulling that stuff out. Like I just bought a Leica and it's fucking awesome in so many different ways, but I can't pull the detail out of it like I can on the Sony. It doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It has a bunch of other things that are beautiful. I've taken pictures with that Leica that I'm like, I feel like I could lick this. It's crazy. But that's so cool. I was a Lumix guy for a long time, and I started shooting on Canon. And then when I learned what you could pull out of an underexposed Sony image, I was like, that's the thing for what we do specifically.
Yeah. When I picked up the tour with Tim, I was still doing stills on my Canon 6D Mark II, but I bought the A7 III to throw on a gimbal to do video.
Cool.
It was like, oh, this is even in the theater, it's gonna be low light, And then I shot a couple pictures with it. I was like, okay, I'm going to need another one of these because I need one for the gimbal and one for stills. And it was like, I just fell in love with it. But So we shoot this show on Blackmagic's with the EF mount. So I have a ton of Canon lenses.
Yeah, I like that shot. It's just me looking cross-eyed into the lens of just nerding out about cameras.
Yeah, I'm going to be pulling the thumbnail off of that frame.
Cool. What's this one?
Mike Falzone stuck in cross-eye.
I love it so much, man. I loved figuring all that stuff out too.
Yeah.
Because it's just super fucking interesting. When I was looking for a Sony, I was looking for just the body. I didn't even know which lens I would have on it yet. And then one of the guys, my friend Neil Landino, is mostly like a real estate. He shoots like real estate magazines in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I have a buddy who's selling a A7 III with an 85 Zeiss 1.7 on it.
Yeah.
So I just bought that guy's setup. He bought it for like a portraiture or a portrait shoot or whatever. So I was like, whatever, I'll just figure that out. So the combination of that lens and that body has produced some of my favorite live pictures that I've ever taken. That's like my go-to setup.
Yeah. I use Canon glass on the
Sony?
On the Sonys because Sony lenses are ridiculously expensive, and I just bought 2 bodies back to back, brand new, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
But it turns out that for video they don't autofocus unless it's wearing Sony glass.
When you get the converter thing.
For video, yeah.
Sure.
So yeah. So that was a problem. So I went out and got just a big 20 mil for video. Everything's just super wide, and it's a 1.2. I think can see in the dark.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
1.2.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And on a 20 mil, right? So everything's in focus all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where I'm going with that. Oh, yeah, the point was, got all the converters, but I really want to start shooting on Sony glass with it. Because, those two things talking to each other nerd-wise is like...
It's very cool.
It's very cool. But I have 7 or 8 Canon lenses, and it's just so hard to go like, I'll just put these down for a little while.
Yeah. It's just so hard to sell stuff for me.
Yeah.
Is it hard to sell stuff for you?
I don't sell
stuff.
I took my 6D Mark II and I sent it to my little brother in Nashville because he's, he does like little sports photography.
Cool.
And he can make money with it.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend's a YouTuber or a TikToker.
Yeah.
So I was like, here, buddy, you take that one.
Yeah.
Because I hate to see cameras sit on the shelf and not work.
Plus, it's like a bad camera hasn't been made in 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like you could shoot on stuff. You could shoot on the Rebel still. The Canon Rebel, T2i or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And that was my first DSLR for YouTube stuff.
Sure.
And it still looks great.
They're making some stuff now in the $500 range with a kit lens that would blow your mind 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You could get 4K for $500.
Dude, I'm sure every time you're shooting stuff, you have somebody, an audience member or whatever, come up to you and be like, hey, what's a good camera? Do you get that a lot?
No, but I don't have a very approachable face.
You got improv guy face.
Yeah. I got... What the fuck are you looking at?
Dude, I can see that. I can see you could put on the mean face. But your smile is very warm. You're just not smiling when you're...
I don't smile with my eyes, and I don't look anybody in the eyes either because I'm empathic. Here's what I do get when I'm walking up to the club. People are like, who are you here to get? Who you here? I'm like, what? Like, who are you looking for?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm looking for the comedy club. They're like, yeah, but like... Somebody in trouble, somebody get canceled. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I eventually figured out
paparazzi
they thought I was a paparazzi.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I have one paparazzi story I think I've told on the show a million times, but I'll share it with you. I was shooting a pickup shot for Selena Gomez. It was the conversion from, they already shot her US, or either they already shot the Spanish or American version, whatever. We were just doing green screen shots, right?
Sure.
And she goes, hey, my friend Justin's coming by. And I'm like, well, it better not be the fucking Bieber.
Right.
2 hours later, Justin Bieber shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great, fuck this kid. They leave, right?
Fuck this kid.
I hate that kid so much. Fuck you, Justin Bieber. I hate you. And that's going on the internet. I'm definitely cutting that out.
Yeah, you got him.
Because he might see it. They go out to the parking lot. She sends her car service home. They're standing there on my iPhone, my shitty iPhone. I have head to toe of them kissing.
Oh.
And I call a paparazzi guy. I'm like, how much is this worth? He's like, well, first of all, you don't have that because they're not dating, or I would have it already. And that pays the most if it's head to toe profile.
Yeah.
It's something no one's ever gotten before. He said, if this is real, you can get $120,000 for it.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, for a shitty iPhone pic.
Yeah.
Just because of the subject matter and what they were doing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how you got all this cool stuff in this podcast.
Nope. Everybody asks me all the fucking time, like, how do I have all this shit?
Yeah.
I paid for it.
Cool. Cool. Dude, I was at Barney's Beanery in West Hollywood months and months and months ago, and he was there. He was just eating at the table next to me. And that was the first time I ever like felt bad for the celebrity experience, because I was just there with like one or two friends. I was just eating, and everyone around, like all the tables doing the sneaky picture and like trying to do this thing where they walk close to the table on the way to the bathroom. And I was like, this dude's just trying to eat fries, dude. Just let him eat fries, you know?
It's like that with this gentleman. Can you see who that is from there?
No.
I don't say his name on the show. I'll bleep it out.
Oh, nice.
We can't. When we're out on the road, it's like, even at breakfast, like, well, everybody's like, hey, man, are you so-and-so? Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
He's very nice to everyone. Takes
He's
a picture
nice.
with
I've
everybody.
I've him a couple times.
Oh, killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tours well, does the bus thing. It's awesome. He's very great to everybody that works for him.
Super nice. Very genuine dude.
100%.
Yeah.
But it's like, he can't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah. That's
and then people are like, I was shooting a little clip with him outside the Chicago theater, and people were walking by and like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, you can see his name on the billboard, and it says sold out. It's like, I'm a huge fan. Well, if you were, sir, you'd have a ticket.
Dude, nothing better than the people who are like, tell me when you're coming to Chicago, like as you're leaving Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing better than that.
You're like, I was just there last weekend.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I hated that shit. I'm not at the point where I'm hating it already. Like it's happening to me on other people's behalf.
It's
like,
only a matter of
like,
time.
God, I say we when I'm with these guys on the road. I'm like, yeah, we were just in Pittsburgh, bro.
Right.
Where the fuck were you? Like I had anything to do with
You're
whether.
part of the team.
Yeah.
Very integral part of the team.
Yeah, I feel like it sometimes.
Yeah.
We're right at an hour. This was awesome. That went by super quick. I knew this was going to be super fun because we got the music thing, we got the photography thing, we got the comedy thing.
Yeah.
I'm super honored that you came and did the show.
Dude, I'm honored to be asked. Thank you. You got me coffee. Everyone should know that my order for coffee was taken days ago. And then I got here and he gave it to me at the door. And that is VIP experience.
I went and got it myself.
Dude,
I have no
beautiful.
PAs here.
Thank you so
we
much.
should shout out Monterey because she's the one that linked us together.
Thank you, Monterey. Great comedian.
She's super funny. She
has a great show called Hard Lemonade that you should go to.
Super good. Do you want to plug all your socials and stuff?
Sure. It's mainly just Mike Falzone everywhere. At Mike Falzone, Instagram and Facebook, all that stuff. On YouTube, it's Mike Falzone. And on TikTok, it's Mike Falzone Comedy. So wherever you watch stuff, you could find me. Pretty easy to find. I am doing that Surrounded show at the Hollywood Improv, first Friday of every month. There's normally a 7 o'clock show and a 9:45. I'm doing it at the Stand in New York City on September 27th. Earlier that week, I think I'm doing one in Connecticut, but the details aren't super ironed out yet. And MikeFalzone.com, I usually put dates up there. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. If you want to see photography stuff, I have Mike Faltography on Instagram. And my podcasts are Dynamic Banter with my friend Steve Zaragoza. And then I have a podcast with my wife, who is waiting outside in the car right now, called Welcome to Our Podcast.
Nice. Don't forget to buy the book, Never Stop Shutting Up, and the special You Got Toes that you shot in Toronto.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next time, everybody.